Hi, welcome back to the Language for Wellness channel. We are worthy of love and joy.
I've definitely felt that knot in my stomach before a group discussion. Like, even if I have the answer, my brain just goes blank because everyone's looking at me.
Totally get that. My hands get sweaty just thinking about saying something out loud in class. It's funny how a simple word in English feels 10 times heavier when you're anxious.
Exactly. And it's not just classrooms. Even at work, I sometimes rehearse what I want to say 10 times in my head. But when the moment comes, the anxiety just takes over.
Same here. Sometimes I dodge small talk at the coffee machine because I'm worried I'll mess up or freeze. But I started seeing English as more than just vocabulary. It's like a tool I could use to bridge that confidence gap.
I love how you said English can be a bridge. That idea really changed things for me too. It's not just about perfect grammar, but using the language to connect, even when it feels awkward.
Definitely. For me, each new English phrase I learned was like a tiny confidence boost. I realized it wasn't about sounding flawless, but daring to try, even if my accent slipped out or I hesitated.
That's so true. And honestly, most people are way more forgiving than we think. They're mostly just happy we're making the effort.
Actually, some of my best conversations happened when I stumbled. It made things more human, and sometimes the other person would share their own language mistakes.
You know what's funny? I used to dread being called on randomly in English class. I'd practically pray for the bell to ring before it got to me.
Oh, I can picture that. My heart would race every time the teacher made eye contact. Even in group activities, I'd try to stay quiet just so I wouldn't be put on the spot.
And it didn't stop in school. Job interviews, team meetings, they all felt like those nerve-wracking pop quizzes, just with fancier clothes.
There's something about public speaking or even just introducing myself that makes my mind go blank. But I started to realize those moments could be opportunities, not just obstacles.
It's wild how social anxiety can make every English word feel twice as difficult. It's not just about remembering vocabulary. It's like the pressure freezes your brain.
Honestly, my biggest struggle has been overthinking. I'll plan out a sentence in my head, but then worry about every possible mistake, which just makes me more anxious.
I totally relate sometimes. By the time I'm ready to speak, the topic has already changed. All that mental rehearsing doesn't always help.
That actually reminds me. I once practiced the word entrepreneur for like a week. When I finally tried to say it, I still tripped over it, and everyone just laughed with me, not at me.
I'm curious, when did you first notice your confidence starting to grow because of English, rather than despite it?
It was probably after I survived my first presentation at work. I was terrified, but when I finished and people clapped, it felt like winning a tiny gold medal.
Oh, wow. That must have been a rush. I had a similar moment the first time a native speaker understood my joke suddenly. It felt like I could actually belong.
It's amazing how those little wins stack up. Each success makes the next scary moment a bit less scary.
So, if someone listening feels paralyzed by the idea of speaking English, what's a small first step you'd recommend?
Honestly, starting with tiny, low-pressure situations helped me. I'd order coffee in English or ask for directions, just quick interactions where mistakes didn't really matter.
That's so doable. I used to practice by recording voice memos to myself, no audience, just me, so I could get used to hearing my own voice.
That's a great idea. Even talking to your pet or reading out loud can build comfort, and there's zero judgment.
Once you get used to those easy situations, where do you go from there? I mean, how do you start getting comfortable with real conversations?
Joining beginner-friendly English clubs worked wonders for me. Everyone there was nervous too, so it felt safe to make mistakes and just laugh them off.
That sounds way less intimidating than talking to native speakers right away. Did you ever try language exchange apps or online games?
Actually, yes. Chatting online let me take my time and think before replying. Plus, people are usually super encouraging when they're learning too.
There's always that fear of making a fool of yourself, though. How do you deal with those cringe-worthy mistakes?
At first, I'd replay every awkward moment in my head for days. But over time, I realized everyone messes up, and most people just forget about it within minutes.
That's so reassuring. I've actually found that being able to laugh at myself helps break the tension, and sometimes it even makes conversations more fun.
For sure. People seem to connect more when things aren't perfect. It kind of gives them permission to be imperfect too.
Mindset is such a big part of this. Do you have any go-to mental tricks for calming your nerves before speaking?
One thing that helps me is reframing anxiety as excitement. I tell myself, I'm not scared, I'm just energized because this matters. It doesn't always work, but it gives me a little boost.
That's a clever switch. I like to remind myself that I'm not alone. Literally millions of people are learning English and battling social anxiety too.
Totally. And just taking a few deep breaths or grounding myself before jumping in makes a bigger difference than I expected.
Something I wish I'd known earlier is how important it is to celebrate the little victories. Did you ever set mini milestones for yourself?
Absolutely. I'd reward myself after every conversation, even if it was just a quick chat with a cashier. It gave me motivation to keep going instead of fixating on what went wrong.
That's a great approach. I actually started journaling about moments where I felt brave, so I'd have something to reread on tough days.
Love that. Having proof that you've grown, even in tiny ways, makes it easier to keep pushing through the anxiety.
You know, some of the best parts of this journey aren't just about English. It's about realizing we can face scary things and survive.
Couldn't agree more. I used to think social anxiety defined me, but pushing myself with English showed me I'm more resilient than I thought.
That's incredible. And it's a reminder that every time we step out of our comfort zones, even a little, we're building skills that go way beyond language.
Exactly, those moments of courage spill over into other parts of life. Suddenly, speaking up in a meeting or making a new friend doesn't seem quite so impossible.
Before we wrap up, is there any advice you'd share with listeners who are feeling stuck or discouraged right now?
If I could say one thing, it's that growth takes time. Every tiny risk you take, no matter how small, is something to be proud of. You don't have to be perfect to make progress.
I love that. And remember, learning English is about connection, not perfection. Everyone listening already has more courage than they think just by tuning in today.
Exactly. Start where you are, embrace the awkward, celebrate each little breakthrough, and know you're not alone on this path.
For those ready to take action, what's one thing they can try this week to challenge their social anxiety with English?
Try starting a conversation, however small, in English, maybe with a classmate, a neighbor, or even online. The first step is always the hardest, but it sets everything else in motion.
And if it feels too tough, even practicing sentences in front of the mirror counts. Just showing up for yourself is progress.
Exactly, you matter, and every effort counts. Plus, there are so many resources and communities out there to support you on this journey. Don't hesitate to reach out.
You know, so many people want to improve their English, but just the thought of starting can make them freeze up. Ever notice how those nerves can sneak up on you even before you begin?
Oh, totally. It's like your brain hits the panic button before you even say a word. I remember trying to join a simple online chat, and suddenly I was sweating over every sentence.
I've been there too. Sometimes it feels like your mind goes blank, as if you've forgotten every word you've ever learned.
And the funny thing is, even the smallest steps forward feel huge at first, but those baby steps really do matter.
On that note, let's talk about how to actually get started without feeling totally overwhelmed. What's worked for you?
Honestly, I began by setting really tiny goals, like literally just writing 3 sentences in English each night before bed. It made the process feel way less scary.
That's such a smart move. It's almost like tricking your brain into thinking, hey, this is easy. I can do this.
Exactly. The less pressure I put on myself, the more consistent I became. 5 minutes a day is way more doable than an hour once a week.
So, you mentioned writing a diary. How did you keep it interesting and not just repetitive?
Great question. I'd pick a theme for the week like food, or something funny that happened that day. It stopped me from getting bored, and I started noticing little improvements in my vocabulary.
That's a great tip. I love the idea of themes. It's almost like giving yourself a mini project each week.
Yeah, and if I got stuck, I'd just write about how I was feeling about English itself. No topic was off limits, and that took away a lot of pressure.
Switching gears. I'm curious, do you ever talk to yourself in English? I've heard that's surprisingly effective.
Oh, all the time. I'll narrate what I'm doing like, now I'm making coffee or I need to find my keys. It sounds silly, but it's actually super helpful for building confidence.
I love that. It kind of sneaks in extra practice during the day without any pressure.
Exactly. And no one's there to judge if you mess up a word. It's zero risk, all reward.
That actually reminds me, have you tried joining any online English groups or forums?
Oh, definitely. There's something special about connecting with people around the world who are learning too. Even just reading others' posts or leaving a comment can boost your confidence.
I've seen people make friends that way and keep each other motivated. It's like having a support system for language learning.
Absolutely. And when you see others struggle and succeed, it feels less lonely like, hey, I'm not the only one stumbling over grammar sometimes.
Let's talk safety nets for a second. Why is it so important to have a supportive environment when you're practicing English?
Because judgment shuts people down. When you practice with friends or groups that are patient and encouraging, you're way more likely to take risks and actually speak up.
That's so true. I've seen people completely light up just because someone cheered them on after they tried a new word.
Supportive spaces remind you that mistakes are totally normal. It's how we learn nobody gets it perfect on the first try.
It's funny how celebrating those tiny victories can make such a big difference, don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, even finishing a short diary entry or answering a question in a group feels like a win. It builds momentum, almost like collecting small trophies.
I love that mental image, little language trophies. It's a great way to make progress feel concrete.
And over time, those trophies add up. Suddenly, things that were scary before feel almost routine.
What surprised me most is how perfectionism can sneak in. Did you ever find yourself getting stuck on making everything sound perfect?
Oh, all the time. I'd rewrite sentences over and over, just trying to avoid any mistakes. But it ended up stressing me out and slowing me down.
It's almost like we forget that making mistakes is literally part of the process.
Exactly, and sometimes mistakes lead to the best learning moments. My funniest English memories usually come from saying something totally wrong, then laughing about it with friends.
So, how did you keep things light instead of letting anxiety take over?
I tried to mix it up: games, silly challenges, even making up stories. It kept my brain from worrying about being judged. Plus, laughing at myself when I messed up always helped.
That's awesome. It's almost like turning English practice into play instead of a chore.
Totally. The less serious it felt, the more I wanted to keep going. Fun is honestly underrated as a learning tool.
I've had something like that happen too. How do you balance being consistent with not beating yourself up if you miss a day?
That's a tough one. I remind myself that progress isn't always a straight line. If I miss a day, I just start fresh the next one, no guilt trips allowed.
That's a relief to hear. I think a lot of learners get discouraged and give up when they break their streak.
Yeah, life happens. It's more important to get back on track than to have a perfect record. Small steps, big picture.
Switching gears just a bit, how do you know when it's the right time to reach out for help, whether from a friend or a teacher?
If I keep getting stuck on the same thing, it's a sign I need a fresh perspective. Sometimes just chatting with someone for 5 minutes makes a concept click.
That's a good point. Sometimes you don't even realize how much you've improved until you explain something to someone else.
Exactly. Sharing the journey makes the hard parts feel doable, and you might end up helping someone else along the way, too.
These strategies are powerful, but there's another layer to all this, the emotional side. Social anxiety can sneak in even when you're practicing alone.
That's true, and sometimes it's the fear of being judged that holds us back more than the actual language itself. Let's talk about where those feelings come from and how to work with them.
I'm glad you brought that up. Tackling the emotional stuff can really change the whole experience of learning. Let's dive into that next.
Yeah, understanding the why behind our anxiety is just as important as learning new vocabulary. I'm ready to explore that.
Finally, let's focus on the emotional journey. Social anxiety is real, but it doesn't define us. Have you ever felt that tension when trying to speak a new language in front of others?
Oh, so many times. My heart would race and I'd forget the simplest words. It almost feels like your brain just empties out. But honestly, realizing those feelings are normal made a big difference for me.
Totally get that. It's like our minds freeze up because we're worried about making mistakes. Sometimes, just admitting we're anxious takes away some of its power.
Exactly. And when we're kind to ourselves about it, it's a little easier to keep going. Which brings me to some practical ways we can manage those nerves.
So let's talk about breathing. It sounds basic, but it works. I usually pause, take a slow breath in, hold it for a couple seconds, then breathe out even slower. It's almost like hitting a reset button.
That's funny. I have a similar habit. Before speaking up in a group, I'll quietly count to 4 as I inhale. Then I exhale for 6 counts. It actually helps the nerves melt away, at least a bit.
It's amazing how something so simple can have such an effect. I started practicing that before language classes, and it really set the tone for me to be more present.
And the beauty is, nobody even notices you're doing it. Just a quick moment to yourself, but it can flip your whole mindset for the better.
Breathing ties in perfectly with mindfulness. doesn't it? Being mindful just means paying attention to the moment instead of worrying about every possible mistake.
Yeah, I started using mindfulness apps before studying English. They guided me to notice my thoughts without judging them like, oh, there's anxiety. That's okay. It made everything less overwhelming.
That approach is gold. Instead of fighting our nerves, we just acknowledge them and move forward anyway. Honestly, it makes the whole process feel a lot lighter.
Plus, when your mind's calmer, you actually remember what you're learning. Stress just gets in the way, so being present is a huge advantage.
Building on mindfulness, I've found positive self-talk to be a game changer. Like, instead of thinking, I'll mess up, I try. I'm learning, and it's okay to make mistakes.
I've tried that too. Sometimes, right before a big conversation, I'll remind myself, everyone started somewhere. It lifts some of that pressure to be perfect.
It's wild how our own words can stress us out or lift us up. When I catch myself using harsh language, I pause and reframe it. It's like rewiring the brain to be your own cheerleader.
And it's contagious once you start. It shows up in other parts of your life too. Suddenly, setbacks just turn into new chances to learn.
It's important to remember that anxiety isn't a sign you're failing. It's actually a sign you care and you're stretching yourself.
I love that perspective. The first time someone told me that nerves are part of growing, it shifted everything for me. It meant I was really trying, not just coasting.
For sure. If we waited until we weren't nervous, we'd probably never speak a second language at all.
True. And each time you push through the discomfort, it gets a tiny bit easier next time.
That actually reminds me, sometimes we get so caught up in mistakes that we forget to celebrate progress. Even mastering a single new phrase is a win.
Absolutely. And when you look back after a few weeks or months, you realize how far you've come. Last winter, I couldn't introduce myself confidently now. Look at me.
Those little wins feel even bigger when you share them. Having a friend or community to cheer you on can make all the difference.
That's for sure. I remember the first time I joined an English group online and someone replied, "Great job." It made me want to keep going, even on tough days.
It's like having a personal squad rooting for you. The encouragement lifts you up and makes those setbacks easier to handle.
And who knows, your story might inspire someone else who's struggling. It turns learning into a shared adventure.
Funny you say that, because comparison is another big roadblock. It's so easy to look at others and feel behind, but everyone's journey unfolds differently.
I struggled with that a lot at first, seeing classmates pick things up quicker, but then I realized their strengths don't take away from my own progress.
That's a huge realization. The only real benchmark is where you started and how far you've come.
Exactly. You get to define what success looks like for you. Maybe it's ordering a coffee, maybe it's writing an email. Either way, it matters.
Looking at mistakes as learning opportunities is a total game changer too. I used to feel embarrassed, but now I actually look forward to feedback.
Me too. One time I said the wrong word in class and everyone laughed, but my teacher gently corrected me, and I've never forgotten that word since.
It takes courage to see mistakes as stepping stones instead of roadblocks. But over time, it really builds confidence.
And honestly, most people are rooting for you. They're more impressed you're trying than worried about your grammar.
Sometimes what keeps me going is setting little, meaningful goals, like watching a movie without subtitles or having a 2-minute chat with a stranger.
I love that. When goals are personal, they're so much more motivating. I set one to order lunch in English on vacation. It was terrifying, but so satisfying when I did it.
And those moments add up. Each goal achieved is proof you're growing, way beyond just test scores or checklists.
Plus, it makes the process more fun. You look forward to those little challenges instead of dreading them.
Some days will still feel tough though, and that's okay. Giving yourself some compassion on those days is essential.
Yeah, if I stumble or forget words, I remind myself it's just a bad day, not a bad learner. Tomorrow's always a fresh start.
Exactly, the journey's full of ups and downs. The important thing is to keep showing up for yourself, even if it's just for a few minutes.
Sometimes just noticing your own effort is enough to get going again. We don't give ourselves enough credit for that.
So, wherever you are on your language journey, remember, every word you learn is a step toward confidence. Keep practicing, keep growing, and be kind to yourself.
Couldn't agree more. Progress isn't always obvious in the moment, but it's happening. Thanks for having me. These conversations remind me why I love learning so much.
And thank you for sharing your story. For everyone listening, just know you're not alone on this journey. See you next time.